Oh, hey guys, it's Daniel. Well, ever since the last video, after the comments made by that psycho Iron Dan about my controversial thoughts on Doctor Strange and the multiverse of madness, it got me doing a little thinking, asking myself some questions, like, what the hell is over my place in life? Is this really where I'm at with my passion of film and TV? Am I really this low? I mean, it's not just the controversial thoughts, it's also the fact that, well, I've not given my thoughts to every movie ever. I've not seen all the movies in the world. Plus, some of the most famous film franchises I've never seen. Predator, Terminator, Superman, although I kind of think that Superman 3 and Superman 4 are not worth seeing because I haven't seen them yet, but I heard it's really bad. But I do regret not seeing 1 and 2. It just made me feel like, well, isn't film and TV the reason I started doing this channel 4 years ago? To share my thoughts on movies and TV? So, I do what I usually do when I get really depressed. I watch things on the TV, which, you know, good comes out of it. Although, I've just finished watching one of those film franchises that was so classic and nostalgic and yet I've never seen before, but this is the first time I've seen it. The famous time-traveling trilogy that Robert Zemeckis proudly calls Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. The film trilogy about time travel and scientific research of how things could affect the past, present, and future. This is one of those trilogies that's so famous that it definitely taglined a lot of future time travel movies, and it's a big hit with the audience, so we're going to take a look at it here today. So, I do regret not watching this pretty awesome, amazing trilogy. I mean, honestly, being inspired by this trilogy, I wish I could just grab their technology from that movie trilogy and just go back in time and let my young self know that this trilogy deserves a chance. I remember when I just passed the movie trilogy and just ignored the film and just said, hey, I need to do more good things in my life.
La 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 la. Huh? What's this? Back to the Future? Yeah, kinda looks a bit disinteresting. I have better things to do. Wait a minute. I never had Blu-rays. This isn't a memory. Ah!
Ah! What the hell?
Oh my god, I guess that reaction triggered the future.
Are you me from the past?
Well, maybe. But hey, does my entertainer skills ever become anything? Or am I just a loser? You're a loser, aren't you?
Okay, I want to beat you up, but I can't beat you up because you're a child and I'll face some serious criminal records because of it. But, hang on a second, this is impossible. How am I able to talk to my younger self?
I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that I'm kind of not interested in watching this Back to the Future trilogy when I have much more childish things to do.
Whoa, younger me, whatever you do, watch that really awesome movie.
What? It just looks like a very confusing mess that is so scientific that I can't complicate my social skills.
But they explain the science well. You end up getting a good understanding of how time travel works.
Wait, time travel? Why didn't you say so?
Hey, I'll tell you what, how about you and I just sit down together and watch the trilogy back to back together? Does that sound good to you?
This actually does look like a good idea. 3 for 2. It's almost like the biggest opportunity since someone making a scary movie the first time about a bunch of monsters trying to kill people who make loud sounds and you have to stay quiet to not get eaten by the monsters.
Oh, yeah, little word of advice from your future self. If that movie becomes a reality, you may want to do some more research on the people that are in that specific movie.
Really? Why?
Trust me, you're gonna want to do more research about it.
Well, what do you know?
I mean, you little dummy!
Oh, let me guess. You made that mistake as well.
Yes, but I was young.
You're both young, so congratulations.
Oh my god, look, I'm not making this up. Look, you need to believe me. This is totally realistic of what I'm about to tell you. Millicent Simmons is a deaf actress, so if you find research about her, you can understand why she doesn't talk in A Quiet Place and A Quiet Place Part 2. For the most part.
Okay, I did not understand a single word you just said.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Honestly, if you could see the future right now, you wouldn't be so complicated in this situation.
Yeehaw! Ride like the wind, BoJack Horseman.
Ooh! Hey, old me! Long time no see. I know that was stupid, but it was best.
Daniel, what are you doing here? What am I doing here? What's going on with us being here?
I don't know, it just seems like all my time-travelling replicants are coming together, both my past, my present and my future, and it's all connected by the fact that I was just gonna simply, for the first time, watch the flipping Back to the Future movies.
That's impossible. I'm watching the Back to the Future trilogy right now on BoJack's back. It's really mesmerising.
But, wait a second, both I and the young me were gonna watch them for the first time too.
But I will remember that. How? Too complicated for you, younger version, yet very younger, skinny version of me. But I will say this. Maybe we should watch this trilogy together, Daniel. All three of us. Something tells me the answer to our questions may be in these films.
Well, you might have a point. What do you say, young me? Do you want to go on this amazing adventure of a lifetime that has a lot of scientific experiments and maybe confuses you to death?
What was that?
I'll take that as a yes. So, let's see if we can try and figure out what's going on. Let's watch this trilogy. And we're going to start by reviewing the first entry of the trilogy, Back to the Future. So, Back to the Future, this old classic, if you don't know the story by now, and it took a long time for me to watch the movie so I can understand what the story is now, is that it follows teenager Marty McFly with a bit of a hard family to deal with. You know, his father's a failure and his mother is an alcoholic, but Marty has a fine girlfriend, Jennifer, and they plan to meet up. But one of the biggest things in his life is that he has a scientific old man friend known as Dr. Emmett Brown, and one day the doctor asks Marty to come out, and the doctor shows Marty his most famous invention ever, the DeLorean, a time-travelling car that can travel to the past, to the future, and eventually come back in the present. However, after a bit of scientific accidents ends up getting the doctor separated from Marty, Marty ends up inside the DeLorean and is accidentally sent back 30 years into the past in 1955. So now he must try to find a way to get back to 1985 with the help of the past replicant of the Doctor. However, he must also try to prevent his mother and father from not meeting up, or he could face some serious consequences of not being born, and now has to try to reimagine the whole Lorraine and George McFly meet up. And that's basically where our story of the trilogy begins. So, after watching Back to the Future for the first time, what do I think? Do I think it's the best masterpiece that people have made it out to be? Well, I have to say, it was awesome! But maybe not as awesome how people are saying it is. Stop it! Look, I'm not saying it didn't meet up to my expectations. In fact, they met them extraordinarily well. I'm just saying that I think that the movie does have its fair share of faults. But before we get to those tiny little faults, let's talk about a lot of the amazement of this movie. The first and biggest praise I can give Back to the Future, and is probably the most iconic thing about the entire trilogy, are the characters and the actors and actresses who play them. Each actor and actress in this film are fantastic, clearly emphasizing their roles to be at the exact level of memorable, and it seems like a lot of these actors and actresses were having so much fun with their roles, especially the two main ones that I'm about to talk about. First off, we've got the main character himself, Marty McFly, played by Stuart Little himself, Michael J. Fox. Marty McFly is definitely one of the most lovable teenagers I've ever seen in a long time, because he does have his, like, ups and downs. He has his confidence in skateboarding, but also his kind of social issues when it comes to, like, his other family members. But he definitely has a lot of smooth jazz that he can give, which would understand the reason why Jennifer is so admired of him. But when he goes back to the past, he is both freaked out, but also knows exactly what it is, because he's intelligent enough after spending so much time with Doc Brown. And he does admire Doc Brown sometimes. Sure, he gets very annoyed by his experiments, but at the same time, he gets very immersed and is impressed by his experiments, so he knows exactly how to handle it. And I like how lengthy he goes with his character to try to get back to the future, as implied by the title, but also try to help Lorraine, his mother, and George, his father, meet up in circumstances. But his, like, Lorraine's little crush on Marty gets in the way, and that's going to cause a race for his existence. And I think Michael J. Fox definitely gives one of the most classic, iconic performances for a lead role. But do you know who really stole the show? Doc Emmett Brown, phenomenally played by Christopher Lloyd, who definitely ate the scenery and gave him some quick wit and over-the-top weirdness that it just makes him highly amusing to watch. It feels like this is the role that Christopher was born to play. And the thing about Doc Emmett Brown is that he's very mysterious. We don't know much about him, we just know that he's an eccentric scientist who loves to make inventions. And I love his over-the-top excitedness whenever he both does something exciting, but also is in peril, and yet keeps a really, like, His facial expressions are so big that you just can't help but love this guy throughout the movie. And the relationship between Marty McFly and Doc Emmett Brown is one of the most iconic bonds in a movie ever. I mean, they both admire the determination, and Doc Brown is smart enough to know that this kid would be from the future and now trying to get him back to the future, and Marty able to admire Doc's determination, eccentricness, but also get annoyed by him sometimes, which is understandable. And they're just getting started. We still have yet to see what the relationship is like in the sequels. I also really admire the trio bond between Marty, Lorraine, and George. Their whole dynamic was fantastic. I mean, they spend most of the movie apart. Like, 1 minute Marty is bonding with George about getting with Lorraine, and Marty is bonding with Lorraine about Lorraine's little part with George being altered, because now it's in the situation where Marty is now Lorraine's famous crush, which, again, gets really awkward, but also makes for a lot of peril situations. And I like how it all comes to conclusion by the end of the movie. You definitely saw the build-up and all the determination that our characters have been through, and I have to give props to Marty for pulling this all together. And speaking of pulling it all together, I really admire the explanation of time travel in this movie, because this is definitely the movie that definitely excels the whole time travel topic in most movies nowadays. Like, a lot of time travel movies definitely have a lot of thanks to give Back to the Future, because they do a good job explaining how time travel works and how you must not do anything big in the past to ruin the future. Like, again, the whole Marty, Lorraine, and George situation. And Doc Brown is definitely a bit cuckoo in the head, but he's not totally stupid, because he does know how time travel works, because he is a scientist. And I really admire about the film. And lastly, the score and visual effects are some of the most iconic. I mean, the visual effects definitely hold up since the 90s. I mean, of course, I haven't seen them in the 90s, and this movie came out in 1985. But even in 1985 standards, it definitely looks great. And the score was fantastic. And I definitely have to give it to the composer of the score himself, Alan Silvestri, for giving us so many iconic tracks, especially the most famous one. If you want some good music for your film, there are two people that you should talk to, both John Williams and Alan Silvestri. And yeah, a lot of things that this movie does fantastic, great, spectacular. But if I were to find some faults with it, just hear me out! I will say that while this movie does inspire a lot of time travel movies in the future, no pun intended, I do have to admit that it does have a lot of the time travel cliches that I have seen in other time travel movies and shows. A bumbling character from a different timeline goes back in time and isn't very socially inaccurate with the whole time travel lore of this period, and it leads to so many awkward situations, and it just makes you feel like, okay, come on, like, oh, do I really have to sit through these parts again? But I think that's really the point of the movie, but it does have it does feel like it definitely like kind of weighs down the whole excitement, and you just gotta kind of sit there like, oh boy, it's good, just not the greatest though with these couple of scenes, because it just follows the time travel thing, and oh my god, we don't want this, we're gonna have to pause that for a bit, and then okay, I will unpause it again. And really, that's really my biggest problem with this movie from being like a total masterpiece. But honestly, everything else about this movie, oh my god, this has definitely got to be one of the best movies I've ever seen. I mean, it's not like one of the greatest movies I've ever seen, but it is definitely one of the best ones, and definitely one of the most iconic ones, and definitely one of the most entertaining ones. It has the acting of a lifetime. Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd stole the show. I like the whole romantic subplot with Marty and George and Lorraine trying to get together. The score was fantastic. The visuals are great, and they definitely explain a lot of time travel very, very well. Good job, movie. And definitely, I would definitely watch this movie again if I had to show it to some kids. And honestly, I regret not watching it sooner. And I will give this movie an iconic 4.5 stars out of 5. I definitely think it is one heck of a movie, and one that you should definitely rewatch or watch if you haven't seen it already.
Huh, that was actually pretty good.
Pretty good? It was really, really good. With a few exceptions now and again that I might face criminal charges for, but I'm sure we can get some good material out of doing this review.
Whoa, time out. What the bleeding yeehaw hell was that?
I don't know. What's going on?
Maybe it has something to do with the inaccuracy with our little time travel split between these 3 timelines, Daniel.
I think the best way to find out what's going on is to keep doing the review. So let's carry on with this review of the trilogy, and now it's time to look at the second installment in the trilogy, Back to the Future Part 2. So, at the end of the first Back to the Future movie, Marty and his girlfriend Jennifer were taken by Doc Brown to the future 2015 to check on his future kid. And they managed to get that sort of pretty well stuck in that future, trying to realize his own. But it turns out that his father's bully turned slave for his father, Biff, finds Marty's time machine and goes back in time to make his younger self famous by taking a book that helps him become rich and famous, and he ends up taking over the area in Marty's current time period. So now Marty must try to find out exactly what happened and how to fix his future, or else the damages could be dire. I really enjoyed this movie. It definitely has the same grade and same rating as the first movie, but I also have to admit that this is kind of the least favourite of the trilogy. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad, it's really, really good. I just think that the first movie definitely did a better job. But again, before we talk about the bad, let's talk about the good. And it's not even that bad anyway, but it's just something I just noticed. First of all, the acting is still fantastic. Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd still steal the show as Marty McFly and Doc Brown. Their chemistry is still on point, and you can definitely tell that they want to help each other with this timeline and try to figure out exactly what's going on. And feels like Doc is teaching Marty more about the whole time travel of how it works, because he's both having to time travel to the future, the present, and the past throughout this movie, and so he's having to talk some more time about the time travel, and he definitely explains exactly how altering the timeline could affect the future, which, again, I appreciate because it gives his characters so much intelligence. Alan Silvestri's score and the visuals are still as epic as usual. I mean, what else can you expect, considering how it's from the same team that made the first movie? Robert Zemeckis still directs the movie very well, and it definitely has a lot of silly and hilarious senses of humour that the first movie had. But I also have to give praise for the movie for taking a lot of risks and going into a pretty dark direction, especially when Biff ruins the time flow, and it definitely leads to a lot of intense situations where you can feel Marty is not safe with this future, and so it's definitely great to see him dealing with it, but also you're on the edge of your seat wondering, oh my god, is this going to happen? Are you going to make it out of this situation? Oh boy, you've got to take Biff down. And Biff in this movie is definitely a great villain, because he's more threatening than he was in the first movie, because we have his past self, his present self, and his future self all combined into one that makes the movie so much more intense than you were expecting. Although that does lead into probably my biggest issue with the movie, and that we'll get to that now. Because while I still really enjoyed this movie and had a blast watching it, and had so many things to look forward to, there are a couple of problems I had with it. The biggest problem with this movie, and I know I've been mentioning how good it is for the past time, but I do have to admit that this problem does kind of weigh the movie down and makes it the least best of the trilogy, and that is the switch in tone when it came to its story. You see, this movie actually starts off with a very awesome premise, having to go to the future to handle Marty and Jennifer's kid. There's definitely a lot of potential to have Marty and Jennifer interacting with each other more, having them interact with their future family and having to help their family be better in their future state because their state is not doing well. It definitely comes off as a more awesome and more developed attempt that they could do than the first movie. But then, once Biff goes back in time, the present is changed, the film then whiplashes into a completely different movie. Jennifer is just left out of the film, and now we have a new threat to take care of, and it's in the present timeline, so we barely spent that much time in the future. And my biggest problem with it is it kind of just goes like that, okay, are we actually in the same movie, or is this just a different film? And secondly, it kind of wastes the potential that the opening could have gone, because you know what? If the rest of the movie was the same story as the opening, it might have been just as good, if not a little better than the first movie, but because it just kind of changes its tone a little bit, it just kind of weighed down and you're oh, come on, man, come on, you were done more. I mean, like I said, what I would love is for Jennifer to have more focus in these movies, and they definitely had the right opportunity to give her more focus in this movie, because it was explained in the last movie that both Marty and Jennifer were needed, so it could have given them more time to develop their romance, but nope, they just kind of forgot about her, and so it wasn't really necessary to begin with, and then we focused on this storyline, which is intense and awesome, just kind of changes the mood of the story a little bit. Wouldn't you agree, younger me?
Wait a minute, wouldn't that give Biff more to do in this movie?
But like I said, it kind of changes the focus and wastes potential.
Well, I guess that complaint really does make sense. Hey, Daniel? Daniel? Where'd you go?
Holy moly! He's vanished. He just poof.
What the hell? What's going on? What is this place?
I told you I'd be back.
Am I back?
No, what? Not much away, you idiot.
I am done?
Well, what a pleasant surprise to see you again, Daniel.
Where the hell am I? And what do you want with me?
I heard you gave less than an epic grade to Back to the Future, and you know exactly how I feel about controversial opinions of famous films.
Oh god, you're doing this again. Why do you always have to ruin my hard-working thought expressions with your controversies?
And when you ruin my controversy with your hard-working thought expression,
Because there's literally no point at trying to make me change my mind. Because no matter what you do, I'm never going to change my mind about what I think is rightfully my decision on these types of movies and TV shows. So why even try it? It's not like it's going to cause the end of the world or something.
Well, I wouldn't say that, I'm afraid.
What are you talking about? Why not?
Because now the entire universe is doomed.
What? What do you mean?
Well, I might have set up the universe to be erased from this multiverse. I tried bringing you controversial thoughts and threats to stop you from giving those thoughts, but no, not allowed to do it to work, so I guess I'll just have to erase this universe.
Oh, you loose screw glitching idiot!
Anyone trying to store every simple one of us in the universe.
Us. What do you mean, us?
Take close look, Daniel. You and I are not so different.
What, you and I?
Yes, Daniel, I am who you could be. I am who you should be. I am you.
What the frick? What the hell happened to you? To me? To us?
Well, let me explain. I'm a film reviewer myself in my universe. I have been making film reviews on YouTube for many years. But I've been recently making some controversial thoughts to some films that a lot of people really like, but I think are just underperformed what other people think. Naturally, that cost me a lot of cyberbullying. I felt like I wasn't really gonna give my potential because that's the reason I started doing this in the first place. And then I take all that anger out on the laptop. But then, well, it gave me the power to travel multiple universes. So I decided to start going to every single universe to stop different variants of myself from making the controversial thought mistake. So I could save them the trouble of being cyberbullied by my cyberbulliers.
Okay, look, I get your intentions and all, but is this really worth costing the lives of this universe?
Well, I mean, there's like multiple universes in a multiverse, so one of those things being destroyed is not gonna matter.
Well, if I stop you...
Ha! And how do you think you should do that?
Actually, I was kind of hoping you could tell me that.
And why do I do that? I'm the antagonist.
Don't you mean pro-antagonist?
What?
Well, I mean, if you're me from a different timeline doing evil things, technically you're both a protagonist and antagonist.
Well, wouldn't that take me maybe an anti-hero?
Well, I guess you really got me there, but we're not allowed to say that until the end of the video. It's a very long video as well. You can see the time code of the YouTube screen button.
Enough talk! Look, you're on your own.
Oh, come on, give me a hint! If all of the universe is doomed, you can at least give me a hint.
All I can tell you is that it's something to do with your review.
How?
Well, you're gonna have to find out on your own.
Why?
Think of it by saying, it's like separation.
Guys!
Daniel!
Where the hell were you?
I've just discovered some really bad news. The end of the universe is upon us. If we don't do something, the entire universe is doomed.
What do we do?
Well, I don't know, but I do know one thing. I feel like End of the World has something to do with this review.
So we should just keep doing the review?
Well, yes, basically. So back to the review of Back to the Future 2. Another issue I had is that there are so many things that the movie does the same as the first movie. The whole waking up of Marty McFly and waking up in the bed, thinking that his mother is there, but turns out to be an alternate version of his mother, which makes things so awkward. And yeah, I guess people really love this. I just kind of noticed it, and it was funny, but just kind of noticed it. But overall, besides that problem, I definitely had a good time watching Back to the Future 2. While it is the weakest of the trilogy, I definitely still think it's a really great movie. And I will give it the same praise as the first movie of 4.5 stars. I know it might have been lower, but I guess I just enjoyed the movie much more than I would if I gave it a 4 out of 5. Again, it is the least memorable of the trilogy, but again, it's still a really, really good movie.
I feel like we should keep making the review.
Yeah, let's keep going. Besides, we're almost done anyway, guys, so just keep your fingers crossed, because now, let's finally talk about the last installment of the Back to the Future trilogy, Back to the Future Part 3. So, the plot of this final entry in the Back to the Future trilogy is that after the events of the last movie, Doc Brown was struck by lightning in the DeLorean, and now he's been travelled back to the year 1885. And so Marty manages to get a hold of a DeLorean that the past version of the Doctor created, and he sends himself back to 1885 to rescue the Doctor in the Wild West times. But Doc ends up getting into a bit of a situation as he ends up falling in love with a West-timed teacher named Clara. But the problem is that this relationship is meant to be the cause of Doc Brown's death. So, is this legend true? Will this be a forbidden romance? Will Marty McFly ever stand up for himself? And how will this proceed in the future? Now, I honestly did not expect what to expect with this final entry, because, again, I really, really enjoyed the first movie, and I definitely really enjoyed the second movie, not as good as the first movie, so I didn't know what to expect from the third one. Would they up the ante, or take a giant step backwards? Well, I am so pleased to announce that this is definitely my favourite Back to the Future movie. It is amazing. The best one out of the bunch in my opinion, and what I believe is definitely a great conclusion to a trilogy. First of all, the characters and the actors are still amazing. Michael J. Fox, I honestly don't need to explain how I feel about him at this point, because we all know that he's iconic as Marty McFly all over again. He has the same stand-up, but you could definitely tell they've kind of grown since the first movie. I mean, in the first movie he was kind of a bit more bumbling with a bit of jazz. In the second movie he was becoming a bit more intelligent when it came to his scientific research of time travel, and in this movie he's now fully confident and knows exactly what he's trying to do, and actually has to tell the Doc, hey, we need to do this, you can't just go off and hang out with some girl. But also manages to learn a bit more confident because he's having to face like a Wild West version of, I believe, Biff, because, you know, he's played by the same actor who played Biff in a showdown, and the way that this rivalry comes up was amazing towards the end of the movie. But I have to say, the one character that I definitely appreciated in this movie is Doc Brown. This honestly has to feel like his movie because he definitely gets the most focus and development out of any of his appearances in the past movies. He has more of a character arc, he has more of a development. We definitely see some more details about him, because what I really like about Doc is that he is so eccentric but also mysterious, because we never know exactly who exactly his character is and what problems he could face. But in this movie, we definitely see more of his sensitive side, because he is kind of a charmer whenever he goes with Clara on a date, or just a quick little talk, and honestly, I can't really blame Clara for being admired by this guy. He's such a charismatic dude. And speaking of Clara, she is a wonderful woman. She's polite, she's awkward, but definitely has a big heart, and definitely shows a lot of that enthusiasm when she meets Doc, and I ate up the relationship between Doc and Clara. Their relationship is so outstanding because Clara is a teacher and definitely knows a lot about science, and so these two are definitely the perfect match. And when they do have a fallout because of the whole situation, because of Doc being from the future and having to explain it, I just wanted them to like be together. No, they're meant to be together. and I liked how their whole relationship wrapped up. I won't give it away, but let's just say it was well deserved. And this is honestly the best performance that Christopher Lloyd has given as Doc Brown. He stole this movie. Him, Clara, and Marty stole the movie, and I honestly salute you, Doc Emmett Brown. In fact, now that I've noticed, Doc Brown and Marty McFly are kind of like Rick and Morty. I mean, I know Rick and Morty came out years and years and years after the Back to the Future trilogy, so I'm kind of wondering, did Justin Roiland base Rick and Morty off Doc Brown and Marty McFly? And that, I don't know if you noticed that, but that is kind of interesting. Now, because this is the final installment in the trilogy, there's definitely a lot of big state moments, because they are in the year 1885, a year when no technology was ever invented. So that means no time travel, so they are So Marty and Doc are in a situation where, oh my god, what are they going to do? How are they going to get back to their own time period? And they have to use their clever tactics to generate enough fuel in the DeLorean to make it out. And the way that they use to get the DeLorean out of this time period, I feel like it's pretty damn clever. But also, there are lots of like big frightening moments where characters are in danger, they're having to face conflicts, and emotional moments that definitely hit you in the feels, because you definitely feel for these characters over the course of this trilogy. And I honestly got on the edge of my seat wondering, oh my god, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? And because this is the final installment of the trilogy, there are so many satisfied moments in this movie. Like, when a character is having a relationship with this character, you're like, oh my god, that is so wonderful. When a character is standing up to a villain, that's just, oh yeah, definitely get that guy. And it all leaves off on a very satisfying note, because I won't say what the ending is, but let's just say it's a very satisfying conclusion, because it gives proper send-offs to each and every one of the characters. Even the supporting characters that had nothing to do with the past two movies actually got a bit of resolution when they met up with these characters, and their closures are just so satisfying, and they are well deserved. And honestly, I don't really have any issues with this movie. No, none at all. It is amazing. It's a very satisfying finish to a great movie trilogy, with the best performances, the best action, the best visuals, the best score by the man himself, Alan Silvestri, and has a really great ending that will make you feel very happy inside. It had great heart, it had great passion, it had great resolution. It is just great. And honestly, one of my favourite third chapters in the movie trilogy ever. And this movie is gonna get a 5 out of 5. It's a masterpiece, and I definitely say that you should get a rewatch on this immediately. So yeah, that was my review of the Back to the Future trilogy, and I honestly can't see why this would be a bother for me to watch it for the first time.
Looks like the whole end of the world, universe, multiverse, whatever nonsense is taking its toll.
Oh my god, it's gonna wipe us out!
Damn it, we could never figure out the answer. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's something so wonderful and horrible at the same time. Wait a minute, that's it! Something so horrible and wonderful! Something so horrible and wonderful! We've all horribly and wonderfully watched Back to the Future trilogy.
What? What do you mean? It's just wonderful. What are you talking about?
It's both a wonderful thing that we finally watched it for the first time, but also a horrible thing that we watched it for the first time, because that's what happened. Our enemy, Iron Dan, has split our time periods to different races to the point where we never watched the movie before. Think about it. We never watched it for the nostalgic memories of the past, we never watched it for the current judgments of the present, and we never watched it for the fresh thoughts in the future. We've all never seen this before until now, and it gives him power to destroy us all.
Well, what do we do then?
The only thing we can do, we have to push this into the screen very, very far and hope it joins our timelines together.
Okay, I hope you know what you're doing.
Maybe, sir.
Come on, guys, come on, this is it. There's no time back now. Ha, you see, Iron Dan?
Wait, no.
You see, this is how we do things. Hey, you see that? I see you, because I'm Daniel reviewing movies, TVs, and doing videos. Till then, peace out, man. Woo! Oh, did it work? Are the young me and the old me okay?
The old me, young me. Yes, you saved the universe.
Yeah! We saved humanity, guys! Woohoo! Ha! That's stupid. You really thought you were gonna win? I'm the filmy Daniel, doo-boo.
Well, that's the end of my quest. I guess I'm not gonna be able to relive all the past trauma of cyberbullying.
Well, is that supposed to make me feel sorry for you?
That's what I did all this. To try to make other Daniels just like me, so they won't be cyberbullied. I guess my life as a YouTuber is always going to be a mistake. Share opinions. I thought if I could get them to share opinions, I'll finally get them to like me. That's the whole reason I started this YouTube channel. Well, I'm sure that's why you started your YouTube channel in the first place. I just thought it would change anything, you know?
We're different in our own way. Sometimes best, sometimes worst, but we're different in our own way. We can be optimistic about terrible things, or we can be terribly behaved about optimistic things. You feel like you can't see the optimism of what you do. But we shouldn't be afraid of who we get to be. It's obvious that other people don't seem to get the bigger picture, but really, I've learned something in the past, like, few minutes of this video, and if I learned anything during that time, it's that you are who you are. And no amount of time-traveling nonsense, or multiversal connections, or whatever third thing can really change who I am inside. Me. I can be my own opinion on, like, these different movies. I can have a point of view on how I see, like, big controversial opinions on, like, not just films, but also on other people, like Chris Pratt. But between one step in the past and one in the future lies what matters most. Do you really think that other people's views on your perceptions really matter? Does your parents say, oh, you can't watch these childish things anymore, you have to grow up really fast even at the cost of your self-esteem? Because really, putting that much pressure on yourself can be unhealthy. There's nothing wrong with expressing how you feel, there's nothing wrong with choosing the job you want to be, the passion you want to do, the shows you want to watch, stuff like that. It's all about you. We're all going to feel like downgraded by our opinions, but when it boils down to it, you find out that depression doesn't really last that long. And trust me when I say, you are who you are. I hope you're taking this message into account for. And honestly, you shouldn't let other people depress you, I and Dan, because it's kind of ridiculous when you think about it at the end of the day.
But I want people to just like my videos, to comment on them, to like them.
I see the problem. You're just lonely.
Yes, I am lonely.
You know, even though you tried to kill me, which I could kill you for, I'll be your friend.
Would you?
Of course! I'm used to making weird friends all the time.
Huh, that's so nice. But because of you saving my universe, because of you saving your universe, it's now erased my universe off the multiverse timeline, which means I'm never going to exist.
What? No. Come Don't say that. You can redeem yourself.
That's not how it works, kid. It's okay. I'm proud of you. A Joker would grow up to be better than me. After all, this is for the best. But I surely warn you that there are more futures in your Egypt than there ever been out to be. So long, fellow Daniel. And I hope your choices gives you the best future ever.
That's a wonderful idea. Thanks for giving me that idea. There you go, buy yourself some guns. Now to get to work. Man, nice
Well,
kid. Very annoying voice though.
Nice to revisit some of the old days. I'm Daniel, reviewing movies, TV shows, and doing videos. Until then, peace out, man. And happy 4th anniversary from Daniel.
My name is Daniel. I like filming. And I'm the
Filming Daniel.